गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यमुनातीरावनचारि यमुनातीरावनचारि जय राधा माधवा कुञ्ज बिहारी गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरा वनचारि हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय जगन्नाथ बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शन जय गौरांगी बेंगलूरीश्वर गौरांगी बेंगलूरीश्वर गौरांगी जय गौरांगी बेंगलूरीश्वर गौरांगी बेंगलूरीश्वर गौरांगी जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव प्रहलाद नरसिंह जय अनंत देव जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव प्रहलाद नरसिंह जय अनंत देव जय निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद। एवं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद् अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। एवं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। व्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। द्वारका धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेत गौरभक्त वृंद की जय। गौरभक्त प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna devotees, welcome for ISKCON Seshadripuram's morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Humble pranams to Govardhan Das Prabhu. So now we will today take up this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Bhagavatam 4th canto, 16th chapter and 7th verse. These are the 4th canto is entitled The Creation of the Fourth Order, and the 16th chapter is entitled Praise of King Prithu by the professional reciters. So now, let us read the verse and then we will go into the background. So Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 16th chapter, 7th verse. I will share the screen. Okay. I will read the verse. Titikshati akramam vainyam uparyakramatam api bhutanam karanaha shashvat arthanam kshiti vrittiman. Word by word meaning. Titikshati tolerates, akramam offense, vainyaha the son of King Vena, upari on his head, akramatam of those who are trampling, api also, bhutana of all living entities, karunaha very kind-hearted, shashvat always, arthanam to be aggrieved, kshiti vrittiman accepting the profession of the earth. Translating, this King Prithu will be very, very kind to all citizens. Even though a poor person may trample over the king's head by violating the rules and regulations, the king, out of his causeless mercy, will be forgetful and forgiving. As a protector of the world, he will be as tolerant as the earth itself. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. King Prithu is herein compared to the earthly planet as far as his tolerance is concerned. Although the earth is always trampled upon by men and animals, it still gives food to them by producing grains, fruits and vegetables. As an ideal king, Maharaja Prithu is compared to the earthly planet. For even though some citizens might violate the rules and regulations of the state, he would still be tolerant and maintain them with fruits and grains. In other words, it is the duty of the king to look after the comforts of the citizens, even at the cost of his own personal convenience. This is not the case, however, in Kali Yuga, for in Kali Yuga, the kings and heads of states enjoy life at the cost of taxes extracted from the citizens. Such unfair taxation makes the people dishonest, and the people try to hide their income in so many ways. Eventually, the state will not be able to collect taxes and consequently will not be able to meet its huge military and administrative expenses. Everything will collapse and there will be chaos and disturbance all over the state. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुत पदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधु भयवच पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्देशे शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरि ओम तत्सत. Okay. So this verse is in this chapter called Praise of King Prithu by the professional reciters. So we all know King Prithu and his good wife, they came out of the body of Vena when there was a churning of the dead body of Vena. Think of the right hand of the limbs of the Vena, and from that these two great personalities came, and they were considered by Narada Muni and others, they had authorities. So they had actually considered the personality and then concluded that this is Lord Narayana himself. That is a plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? Some kind of a Shakti Avashi avatar, we can say. So like that, the personality of Godhead is coming. So this is in the context of Vena, who was the king, who was a rowdy element, and therefore he was coronated by the Brahmanas, but subsequently because he was unfit to rule, even though he was unfit even earlier, but because there was no other progeny and there has to be a king so that the society can be governed correctly, the Brahmanas reluctantly made him king, hoping that he will mend his ways, but unfortunately he did not, and he became even more cruel, even more rowdy element. As a result, they decided to kill him with mantras, and after that again the kingdom became empty. That means the kingdom did not have a king, and therefore they did this churning of the body of Vena, and from there came this great personality who's named Prithu Maharaj, who was later coronated. After the coronation, there was a lot of praises, all the devatas, all the demigods, they all came and gave wonderful gifts to the great personality called Prithu. And it is natural that when on the day of your coronation, many people will come, and of course many gifts will be given. And this is not an ordinary personality; it's the Supreme Personality of Godhead's plenary expansion. As a result, even Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, even Lord Vishnu personally came, and they all gave wonderful gifts to King Prithu. And then there was continuation of that celebration, and part of that was a nice recitation by professional reciters. So there is always these things. There are people who have got wonderful poetical way of talking. Right? It's a very big skill. It's an art. How to be poetic, how to glorify things, how to say with nice words. So in every kingdom, even in today's world, not today, earlier, now also they give such great things, some awards national awards and all that to recognize their talent. So those days there used to be what do they call, the royal king's poets, like this. There will be royal king's pujaris, like this. There will be designated personalities. So there are those people who are great poets in that kingdom. They may be given a designation. They will be paid salary. and they have to come to the court every day, then sing in praise of the king, about the kingdom and what's happening. This is all part of the culture of the society. So here these great professional reciters, they have been, the sages asked them to glorify King Prithu, and they were glorifying about Prithu. And one of these verses we are seeing here is what we are discussing here. This 4:16:7 is one of the recitations by the professional reciters, which is the King Prithu will be very, very kind to all citizens, even though a poor person may trample over the king's head by violating the rules and regulations. The king, out of his causeless mercy, will be forgetful and forgiving. As a protector of the world, he will be as tolerant as the earth itself. So, King Prithu's qualities has been described in this verse here. One of the qualities, not all, one of the qualities, how tolerant he was, how he is caring and protecting for his citizen, how he is very forgiving, how he is very merciful. There's so many, forgets the offenses committed by people. So these are great, amazing Vaishnava qualities. So the Lord in his plenary expansion is actually showing all people in general how one should be gentle, how one should be very, very evolved in their consciousness, and particularly how a king should be, because here he is acting as in the role of a king. He's taken the part of a king, and therefore how a king will also be behaving with all the citizens, that has also been discussed here. He is compared to the earthly planet as far as tolerance is concerned, is what Prabhupada is writing. We all know earth, people, and here Prabhupada is writing, everyone is actually trampling all over the earth by all these living entities, humans and animals, all that. It's not simply, when trampling is one thing, but beyond that, the kind of things that the people excrete on earth, and you go even deeper, people actually in today's world, if you see, or even in the earlier worlds, people had all these big enmity, and there were fights between people, between kingdom, and you will see they were throwing so much of bombs, and it's earth is, you throw a bomb at some land, and then the bomb actually blasts, and then it creates so much of pain to Mother Earth on that part of that. I mean, if you look at it today, all over the world there are so many wars going on. This Russia-Ukraine war, then there was this Hamas and the Israelis, and to some extent we also had a very 2-day war, so-called war with the Pakistani country, Pakistanis. And these are just to mention a couple of them. There were 3-4 more wars going on simultaneously. Earlier, Iran-Iraq war. There's no limit to the kind of atrocities that human beings particularly commit on earth. Animals also do, but animals are, here the examples of trampling the earth. Maybe an elephant is so heavy, it tramples all over. It creates some disturbances at times when it is in its when it is in its there's a time in an elephant's time, they called it, I don't know what they call in English, that means that's a time when it secretes a kind of a hormone which really agitates maybe it's in heat at that time, and it really goes on rampage. An elephant can really destroy like anything. I have seen elephant uproot a full live tree which is like much taller than itself, such a thick tree. But an elephant was so powerful, a tree it can be seen in scriptures and all, no? So like Hanuman just picked up a live tree, and then it was fully planted tree in Lanka, he just pulled the tree out of that land and threw it at people like that. But these elephants are capable with the today's elephants I have seen, they fully grown tree. It just came and shook it, pulled it out of earth, and then made it fall down like this. So very powerful. So they do, so big animals beyond a point, but elephant may be the biggest problem from, in terms of the power. and in water maybe there are some sharks and whales, but they can't really commit too much of a thing to earth. But it is the humans who, even though very small in size, physically very less powerful, because of their sukshama sarira's abilities, the grass, the stula sarira is not very powerful, but the sukshama sarira is very powerful. That means the mind, intelligence and false ego. These three are two very powerful, with which they commit heinous crimes to one another and more unto Mother Earth also. So that is a very good example that Mother Earth, in spite of all this nonsense, is tolerating. I mean, if you, of course, there are times when all these, some kind of floods, earthquakes and all that is also happening. But that is not anything compared to the kind of atrocities that people commit. Just imagine all of us all over the world are dumping so much of nasty things which are not really required all over the earth, and polluting earth like anything. The kind of the environmental pollution that we create because of our modern state of livelihood. Earlier these were not there. Today we are filling it up with polluting it with gas, right? This is not something which is natural, like oil burning thing, and we are creating the puncturing the layers of the thing, the ozone layer and things like that, and these air conditioners, so many of chemicals, and all the rivers are polluted, all the ocean is polluted, all the lakes are polluted, to the extent so many thousands of living entities in those lakes and rivers die. I know in Bangalore there's some lake, I think in Belandur or somewhere. It was so much full of chemicals that it started frothing, and it was coming all over the whole lake became so white, and it was frothing like how you put some washing, when you wash clothes, the froth come like that, and it was overflowing all over. Just imagine the kind of chemicals to contaminate a full lake like that, to make it froth. This is like unimaginable. But if you really look at it, Mother Earth is tolerating all these things. It's not an ordinary thing. So sometimes one need to think through all these things. What is the purpose of our life? Why are we doing such things? It is mentioned, if you are a devotee, or rather all human beings should be understand thinking. Like even non-devotees today, there are so many activists. They are all working towards how to make earth peaceful. Not just here, you look at all over the world, even very advanced countries, there are also people thinking like this, where people say, to hell with this kind of a modern civilization. Why can't we live simply? So there are people who, even in advanced countries, they reject all these things and they try to live in a very simple manner. I mean, you can't imagine in such advanced countries how can people think to be very simple. But there are thousands and thousands of people all over the world, because it doesn't matter what is your the country or what it is. Humans are humans and they have their value system. So many people are having this Brahmanical, Sattvic nature. They are doing it, and therefore the system of Varnashrama is also given, where how people can live peacefully. It's all given how to live. But then, irrespective, in today's condition, here Prabhupada is focusing on today's condition. So in today's condition, people are actually exploiting earth like anything. But here Maharaja Prithu, he is being compared to the earthly planet in the sense that he was very tolerant. To the extent that sometimes people don't even understand, because sometimes when there are people with a higher position, higher consciousness, the respect has to be given. But sometimes when people don't have the knowledge, they take everything for granted. So when there's a person who is very highly evolved, there's a spiritual master, for example, when he is so kind and he is coming down, stooping down to the level of, stooping down means coming down to the level of the disciple or even an ordinary person. That person to whom he is talking to, or he is having this one giving association, they take the spiritual master for granted. Then they make crack jokes, and they make sometimes take him like they're equal, or sometimes they even make jokes on them and such things. So this is complete ignorance. One should understand whom we are interacting with. That person may be very kind, not to show his power, not to show his greatness, but those who are actually interacting, they should have, oh, this is a great person, but he is so kind, or that he is actually coming and talking to us like equal, but we should be mindful. So that's why they say, don't get too used to your spiritual master. Keep that respectful distance with your spiritual master. He is very kind, he will talk to you very nicely. That doesn't mean we immediately talking politics and talking all nonsense with him, right? Try to engage him in a conversation which is of useless nature. Of course, but I know my spiritual master, when he goes somewhere, some common people, he is sitting on a train or in a flight, some people sit next to him and they don't know what is their position. Prabhupada's disciples, not just my spiritual master, all of these Prabhupada's disciples, great personalities who have thousands of disciples and very elevated spiritually. But when they are there, when some of us disciples, we know what is the value of these great personalities. But they don't understand these, they just simply sit and talk so many things. They eat something and then give, oh, why don't you eat? They will eat some chips and then, from them, they say, why don't you please take like that? That kind of a thing. Okay, that is at least pardonable because they are ignorant. But I am talking about situations where people actually misuse a relationship with some higher authorities. So like this here, when he's a king, how should people behave? But if you have to trample all over his head, means you take him for granted. Today you just think about it, if there's a very powerful person, either a rich person or highly qualified or a very powerful politician, if we do something like that, I have seen people, current today politicians, when people come and they even try to take a selfie or something, they pull their phone, throw it away and slap them. I've seen such things. But here King Prithu, being the king of the universe, of the entire planet, he still was very calm, quiet, he did not mind their offenses, all that. So these are all Vaishnava's qualities. Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sagishnana. And in this way, one is able to chant, it is mentioned. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentions. In this way, if one is able to chant, then one can actually come to this perfect position of understanding who am I. The heart will be cleansed of this contamination of material consciousness, and one can actually go back to Godhead. So King Prithu demonstrated such great qualities, and Prabhupada is subsequently writing, but then these qualities are eroding in today's modern world. He's saying, in other words, it is the duty of the king to look after before that, he's writing Prabhupada, in other words, it is the duty of the king to look after the comforts of the citizen, even at the cost of his own personal convenience. So these are some of the responsibilities of a king. We may be, the person can be king, but he should understand he is actually only a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and given the responsibility of taking care of the citizens on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, we all know the jivas are all here. The same Prithu's, I think there was other sections where I have read, where King Prithu was mindful of providing for all kinds of people whatever their wants were. So, what is the meaning of this? So, there are times like, see, for example, we say generally the purpose of human life is actually to come to self-realization and you go back to Godhead, and therefore you should be very devotional, everything is there. This is for advancing devotees. But that is the purpose. But before that, why did people come here to this material world? Because of their sense gratificationary nature. They want to enjoy independent of Krishna. They wanted to uh, think that we are the controller. They wanted to do sense gratification, and as a result they came to these earthly planets. So if that is the case, and the Lord was very merciful and said, okay, if you want to do that, fine, I will make some arrangement for you. But that cannot be done here in Golok or Vrindavan or in the spiritual world, because that is not a real state. The real state is you are always you are subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we want to think, I am the creator, I am the enjoyer, I am everything. Therefore, an artificial world has to be created where you can go and think like that. This is the mercy of the Lord. He's created this world. So when all these jivas come here, the intent of the Lord is to allow them to enjoy this, right? So the king's responsibility is also to provide for some of these facilities. All of these facilities, frankly speaking. If I don't want to be politically right to say, to some of these things. Because these jivas have various desires. It could be good, bad, ugly, everything. But here those things have to be provided. But that doesn't mean, it is lawlessness. No. While that is there, in the course of it, the jivas have to be given the knowledge so that they can slowly refine themselves and come back to the pure state of consciousness. So the king has to provide. So for example, if there is some jivas with the intent to gamble, then there should be some facility for gambling available there. Don't get me wrong. I am saying this is how the overall at the highest level, 10,000 feet above, that is what it is, right? The material world is created for jivas to experience what they want to experience. That is why they came here. And of course, they need to be refined, reformed, all that. So, all these facilities to be given, but in a controlled environment so that things can be experienced, but at the same time, there is refinement, there is reformation parallelly happening. So, there is rules and regulations. You have to take the consequences of your action. That law of karma is also placed on top of it to control all these things. So, this is all there. So therefore, King Prithu also was mindful that I need to provide all these facilities to these jivas who want to enjoy. So he was very perfect king, it was mentioned, but at the same time, he was also nicely planning how people can reform and quickly transfer their consciousness from this kind of a very abominable activities to Krishna conscious activities. So that was all very nicely managed by Maharaj King Prithu, and that some of these things that has been explained here. And then he is going on to say, there are examples, right? We can see even Lord Rama. When the kings rule so perfectly, there will be everything so perfect. The citizens will be in their, will experience ultimate happiness. So that's why we call Rama Rajya. When Lord Rama was ruling, everybody was so perfectly happy. There is no one living entity who felt, I am unhappy like this. No son will die ahead of the father. No father will have to perform the cremation of his son. And today can we think like this? Never possible. So, and if there is something like that happen, then they will immediately say the king's rule is not correct, and therefore these things are happening. There is also the story a history in Krishna's own pastimes when he was here in Mathura. When he was there, there was one nice Brahmana, and when his son was born, the child died immediately. So the Brahmana immediately took offense to the king. He said, this king was Ugrasena, who was Krishna's grandfather, was ruling there. So he was saying, this king is not ruling correctly, and therefore these misfortunes are happening in his kingdom. That his prajas are feeling, there is grievance for the prajas, that I am losing my son, and it is such a heartbreaking situation for me. And such a situation is given by the king because he is not ruling properly. That way he concluded. And like this it was happening. Then Arjuna went and gave a word, and he said all the Kshatriyas are not trustworthy. Like that and all, he went and made an accusation at all the Kshatriyas led by Ugrasena. In fact, Lord Krishna was also there, Lord Balaram was there, and 7 children like this died like that for him. And he accused, even Krishna is not able to do anything, even Balaram is not able to do anything, Ugrasena is useless. What can then Arjuna went and said, no, this is not correct. Citizens have to be taken care. So I am a Kshatriya, I will protect you. You don't worry. I will take care of it. You don't worry. Don't blame Kshatriyas like this. Don't say the Kshatriyas are not giving protection. So that responsibility Arjuna took on and said, of course Krishna was there, he was smiling and watching this, even though these 8 people died. 8 children died. Krishna and Balaram, they are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he is saying even Krishna couldn't do anything, this Brahmana was saying. But Krishna was just quiet, he didn't say anything. But later Arjuna said, I will do this. And the story goes, the pastime happens that then Arjuna then says, okay, I will take care. He stands there as guard when the 8th child is born. And with all his Pashupashastram, all these things, the weapon given by Lord Shiva, he thought, Krishna is not able to do it, so let me take the weapon of Lord Shiva and protect this child. But as soon as the child is delivered, all his weapons vanished and the child also vanished. Then then he said, I will go and get this child. If I can't get this child, I will commit suicide. This is Arjuna's word to the Brahmana. And he went and searched all over the world. He didn't take anybody, he didn't rely on Krishna, he didn't even ask Krishna, like, how can you help me? He personally went all over different planetary systems. He went all 14 planetary systems. He went. He couldn't see. He couldn't identify where this jiva was. Finally, he said, "Okay, now I have whatever words I have given. I am not able to fulfill. Therefore, let me commit suicide. I will enter fire." So at that point in time, Krishna says, "Why do you want to go into fire? I am there. No, I will help you." So then Krishna takes him out of this planetary system. He takes him outside the core of this entire 14 planetary system to the to the milk ocean, where Lord Narayana is there. And Narayana had actually taken these children because he knew if he does that, then Lord Krishna and Arjuna will come personally, and then he can take darshan of them and he can have his exchanges. So then when they go there, then Narayana becomes happy and he says, "Here are these 9 children, you please take them back." So why I am saying all this story is, this pastime is, the kings have to really protect their citizens to the nth level. Here some child died, okay, some Brahmana, old, some poor man, what is there? There are thousands of children dying everywhere. If you look at modern society, so many plagues, so many epidemics, so many things are coming. Governments are not able to do anything much. And they don't care also. See, you can see stampedes happen. Who cares? Okay, few people died here, let us move on. While I'm not saying governments are not doing, they are doing, they have set up inquiries and all that. But still, there is a kind of a laxity in the system. So these things are there. But there in the Vedic times, one single person's discomfort or one single person's problem is a big cause of concern for the king. Even Lord Rama, if you see, someone commented, this Mother Sita, she was there with Ravana for some time, how come, this is some vague comment by some person. Then Lord Rama took it seriously, and he again, towards the end, that's when we asked Mother Sita to enter fire again, and then she said, all that happened. So all this to say how the kings are very mindful about caring for their prajas. This is very, 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 very important. Having said that, Prabhupada is saying, okay, this is all fine. We read, right? He says, in other words, it is the duty of the king to look after the comforts of the citizens, even at the cost of his own personal convenience. Then he says, this is not the case, however, in Kali Yuga, for in Kali Yuga, the kings and heads of the state enjoy life at the cost of taxes extracted from the citizens. Such unfair taxation makes the people dishonest, and the people try to hide their income in so many ways. Eventually, the state will not be able to collect taxes and consequently will not be able to meet its huge military and administrative expenses. Everything will collapse and there will be chaos and disturbances all over the state. So Prabhupada here is predicting how the Kali Yuga will be progressing. Of course, Prabhupada is not simply saying, out of the hat. It is all given in Srimad Bhagavatam. We will also see some of these verses in the 12th canto, where how things will be in Kali Yuga, particularly how the king's behavior and all will be there, all these taxes. We will see that quickly. But here the point made is this kind of thing in Kali Yuga, people don't care. I was discussing how today we are exploiting everything, the nature earlier class, and how even today the rulers, the politicians don't care attitude, how exploitation is happening. The kind of taxation and things like that which are happening. So he's writing, if so much they are going to tax you, people will want to always hide their income, right? Prabhupada is writing. That is why so many cheating is happening. People are not paying their taxes. People are evading taxes. You can put so many laws, you can make so many cases against people. But literally everyone is avoiding taxes in some form and shape. If you really see, even the salaried class, only the salaried class today is actually, completely transparent, because the salary is deducted by the employer and he is forced to deduct, and he is deducting everything. But then even then there are many cases where some interest income they will not declare. There are so many things like this. So ultimately, or they may be having a house, they may get some rent, they may not declare that. Like this, so many areas are there where people will try to hide their income. So that is happening, and let alone these smaller classes of people who hide small income. But there are these big businesses and big individuals who earn in multi-million. They all evade taxes in crores and lakhs and crores and multi-crores. So these things are happening, and this is what is already predicted, and what Prabhupada is also saying, what's happening in the society. Eventually, naturally, when there is no taxes, when the people's lifestyle have all to be increased like this, then the government will not have money. We are seeing these days also government saying, there's no money to pay salary to the government employees. The transport corporation people, they go on strike. So many things, different states, different challenges. So the Gajana or the treasury is empty, and there is chaos, right? People all suffer, and the city's administration, maintenance is all going to the dogs, and there is more and more unrest. People are getting dissatisfied. Okay, let's change the government. One more election, one more government, and again the same different set of politicians try to exploit the people, and again the same dissatisfaction. So this cycle continues like this. Now let us try quickly see in Srimad Bhagavatam some of these things, how things will happen towards Kali Yuga. There is this verse in 12th canto, the symptoms of Kali Yuga, 2nd chapter. From this I will share a few things. This is the 7th verse. It says, as the earth thus becomes crowded with the corrupt pollution, whoever among any of the social classes shown himself to be the strongest will gain political power. See, this is so clear, right? Even today we are seeing these things. Who becomes a king? Someone who's got a lot of power. Right? Not that he's got a lot of knowledge, or he's got a lot of understanding of how to govern or anything. Simply because he has a lot of power, he becomes the king. Then next it was mentioned, losing their wives and properties to such avaricious and merciless rulers. Talking about this modern rulers. People, because what happens, these fellows, because of their power, they become kings. And because of their lust, women are exploited. And here they're losing their wives to such avaricious and merciless rulers. So there will be abduction of women, there will be, you can't imagine, so many things will be happening, or already happening. right? We saw, right? We are seeing even, let alone kings, so the so-called sadhus, in their ashrams, women are exploited and later they are going to jail, right? These are all happening. And what to talk about these powerful people who are very unethical. So it says losing their wives and properties to such avaricious and merciless rulers who will behave no better than ordinary thieves, the citizens will flee to the mountains and forests. So they have nowhere to go, so they have to escape from these kings. Harassed by famine and excessive taxes, people will restore to eating leaves, roots, flesh, wild honey, fruits, flowers and seeds. Stuck by drought, they will become completely ruined. See, in that thing, Prabhupada, in the verse, purport Prabhupada is writing, no? People, there's so much taxation, people will not be hiding it, and ultimately the government will not be having enough money, and everything will go to chaos. This is the chaos that has been mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Harassed by famine and excessive taxes, people will resort to eating leaves, roots, flesh, wild honey, fruits, flowers and seeds. Stuck by drought, they will become completely ruined. The citizens will suffer greatly from cold, wind, heat, rain and snow. They will be further tormented by quarrels, hunger, thirst, disease and severe anxiety. The maximum duration of life for human beings in Kali Yuga will become 50 years. Now just imagine, this is already there. I don't know, we are what? Some 5,600, 5,500 odd years, 5,600 years close to in the beginning of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is 4,30,000 years. So we are only 5,500 years. 4,30,000 we have to go through like this. I don't know, it's too fast already now. I mean, all these symptoms are already there. How much more it can deteriorate, we try to imagine. But this is reality for all of us. So the only way to escape all these things is we need to fix up ourselves in Krishna consciousness. Because, they say sometimes we may take the stand, okay, let us correct this system. Why not make it perfect? Which is good, which is a very noble thought. Yes, we should all do it. We should all be responsible citizens. We should try and influence things so that, this Kali's, progress, or even if you don't believe in spirituality, even from a normal moral point of view, people will have to stand up against corruption. People will have to stand up to protect weaker sections of society. Everything has to be done, no doubt about it. The one thing that we need to still do it, whatever people do, which is fine, which is good, but beyond that, take the spiritual life seriously, because that is most important. Because by doing that, it is mentioned the 4 pillars of dharma are actually broken in this Kali Yuga. That means the mercy, then austerity, then meat eating, intoxication, then cleanliness. So, and what is the 4th one? Meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, gambling, and truthfulness. These 4 are the pillars: truthfulness, austerity, mercifulness, and cleanliness. These 4 are actually the pillars of any society. And in Kali Yuga, these 4 pillars are actually broken. Therefore, anyone who takes to spiritual life seriously and tries to follow the 4 regulative principles which are given: no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. When people are doing this, then the influence of Kali is reduced, or influence of Kali will not touch such people. Now, if you are to make the whole world come to this consciousness, then Prabhupada says, then this whole world can actually become Goloka Vrindavan. Then where is the question of Kali? There's no Kali. Then the Kali is ended. So the ultimate objective of human life is to stop this repeated birth, death, old age and disease, and stop this Kala. That means repeatedly coming into the cycle. Therefore, if we are able to do this, what I am saying in terms of spiritual life, so we follow and we make more people follow, then whatever these things have been written will actually be reduced, or we can even say will be stopped completely, provided the whole world is becoming follow 4 regulative principles, chant Hare Krishna, we say 16 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra, everyone is serious about the spiritual life, then it is possible. But at this point in time, maybe we are not at that stage. Prabhupada, I think, once said, actually we can make the entire world Krishna consciousness in 8 days. In 8 days, whole world can become Krishna conscious. And he also said that actually you are all not at that stage right now to be able to do that. So now we are doing at whatever speed at which we can do. Our consciousness itself is not at that highest level. But the idea is we get to that point. And maybe one generation of Prabhupada's disciples, Prabhupada's grand disciples, one generation will do. I think he has mentioned either the third or the fourth generations will be very powerful devotees. They will be able to do wonders in Krishna consciousness all over the world. So we will pray and do our part in whatever way we can. And ultimately, because the earth is beyond a point, it is still Ashashvatam Dukkalayam. We can try to mend it, we can do it, we need to do it, but we need to understand that doesn't mean that is the only purpose of our life. Our purpose of life is to somehow come to this perfect spiritual platform of Krishna consciousness, make everyone also Krishna conscious. That way we can save this planet. By simply only doing social work, which is good, which is nice, needs to be done, but that is not the holistic approach. That is certainly a stopgap approach. It will help, but reformation, complete transformation is important. Otherwise, we are only making people doing a stopgap arrangement. If we do something like this, then next month again there is corruption, there is this one. But if the transformation of heart happens, then there is no corruption, because it is working from the person himself. So that's very important. So that's something that Krishna consciousness is the only way which can actually do this. That's why Prabhupada built a house in which the whole world can live. That's a very strong statement to make, really speaking. Now today you see all over the world, whoever is following this, there is no distinction. There is nothing like, oh, you are an American, African, you are white color, you are black color, you are red color, you are brown color, nothing. Everybody is looked at as Jiva, children of Krishna. And the way of this united nations, we can call this movement, is really true. And this is possible if we are able to make this whole world like this. So I will end here. If there are any questions or comments, welcome. Hare Krishna. Okay, so thank you all very much for patiently listening to this class today. We will conclude, and tomorrow the sessions will continue. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. We'll end the session.